Our story begins when Luke Skywalker fired his torpedoes at the Death Star, but instead of landing the final blow, Luke's X-Wing experienced a technical malfunction and failed to completely destroy the Death Star. Luke's shot disabled some of the Death Star's system, causing it to not be able to fire a fully charged shot, which led to Grand Moff Tarkin ordering the technicians to fire at reduced power, which leveled the Massassi Temple along with the rebels on the Yavin 4. The Imperials sent out a wing of TIE fighters to pick off the remaining members of the rebellion. Luke, who had been driven to near insanity by the failure of the mission and the apparent destruction of Rebel base, turned his fighter to face the TIEs alone. Eventually, Han Solo convinced Luke to flee and the Millennium Falcon jumped into hyperspace with Luke's X-Wing on its tail. The remaining rebel forces attempting to flee Yavin were captured by the Imperials and brought aboard to be imprisoned on the Death Star, forced to await their execution beaches for Princess Leia, who was taken to Coruscant, where she was put under house arrest at the Emperor's palace. Unbeknownst to the Emperor, Darth Vader had subtly begun training Leia in the dark side of the Force. Flashing back to Luke and Han, we see the Falcon drop out of hyperspace and take Luke and R2-D2 aboard after they abandoned their battered X-Wing. Luke and Han quickly got into a fight when Luke accused Han of abandoning the rebellion. The fight quickly turned violent, and in his anger Luke drew his lightsaber and threatened to strike Han down. But before Luke could do so, the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi appeared and warned Luke that he was beginning to slip to the dark side. Obi-Wan then instructed Luke to go to Dagobah and seek out the Jedi Master Yoda, who would complete his training. Han took Luke to Dagobah, where he began to train under Yoda while Han and Chewbacca remained on the planet to make repairs to the Falcon. A few months go by and Han and Chewie leave the planet with the promise to come back if Skywalker ever needs a lift. While on Dagobah, Luke entered a mysterious cave as part of his training, and while there he ran into a vision of Darth Vader. He fought and killed the vision, but was shocked when he removed the vision's mask and the face beneath the mask was that of Leia. 5 years pass by and our story picks up again when the Empire celebrates the 5th anniversary of the defeat of the rebellion by renaming the Death Star to the Justice Star and having it eclipse the sun over the Imperial capital as a symbol of everlasting peace. Leia, who is now a highly trained Sith, was able to convince the dying Palpatine to reinstate the Imperial Senate, which had been disbanded 5 years earlier. Han and Chewbacca, who had been slumming around the galaxy for 5 years, saw coverage of the anniversary while in a bar on Ord Mantell. Surprised and infuriated that Leia was still alive and now a servant of the Empire, Solo broke his chair over his table and drew the attention of bounty hunters and Imperial stormtroopers alike. Han and Chewie quickly boarded the Falcon and upon leaving had to dodge an orbiting Imperial fleet on their way to meet Luke back on Dagobah. Luke's training was near completion, with the last test being to once again go into the dark and mysterious cave. In the cave, Luke once again was forced to face off against the shadow of Vader, but this time he was able to overcome his fears and truly connect to the Force. Once the Falcon arrived, Han and Chewbacca joined Skywalker and Yoda for dinner, where they informed Luke of what had happened with Leia and the Empire. Soon after, Yoda informed Luke of a pair of shocking truths. Darth Vader is his father and Leia is his sister. After this revelation, the whole crew climbed aboard the Falcon and headed to the Imperial capital. The Falcon landed on the Justice Star, where Yoda and R2 disembarked. Yoda confronted Admiral Tarkin and was able to take control of him with a Jedi mind trick that allowed Yoda to give himself control of the station, which he then turned against the Imperial fleet in orbit over the planet. Meanwhile, Chewbacca flew the Falcon to the planet where Luke and Han attempted to infiltrate the Emperor's palace. Once there, Luke and Han were forced to fight a number of red-cloaked Imperial guards armed with double sabers, as well as a reprogrammed and much more aggressive C-3PO, before finally confronting the Emperor and his two apprentices, Darth Vader and Leia Organa. At his master's orders, Vader turned his lightsaber over to Leia so she could duel with Luke. Luke refused to kill Leia but still dueled with her all the same. Eventually, Luke was able to connect to Leia's rational mind by revealing the fact that he is her brother, effectively finishing the duel. Luke redeems Leia, causing the Emperor to turn his rage on the twins. He casted Force lightning at them, but before they could be killed, Darth Vader turns on the Emperor to save his children. Luke, Leia, Han, and C-3PO are able to escape as the Emperor turned his power onto the newly emerged Anakin Skywalker. They cut their way through stormtroopers and made it to the Falcon and off of the planet. After Palpatine finishes of Anakin, Yoda, who was still under control of the Justice Star, contacted the Emperor and announced that he was coming to finish off their duel from years before. But just as the Emperor returned to his throne, he saw the Justice Star crashing down towards the planet, which obliterated Darth Sidious and his greatest weapon. Our story finally comes to an end a few years later on the planet of Naboo, when the specters of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin appear to Luke and Leia.